talk today. Thank you all for joining. For those of you who have been here before, great to see you again. And anyone new tuning in, welcome, welcome. This is our Eros talk that we're doing every day during the week and through the platform and streaming live through all of our different social medias. Welcome, welcome. We have a different teacher, different faculty member each day of the week. And today, our speaker is Eli Block, longtime practitioner of Orgasmic Meditation and longtime practitioner working with topics of Eros and the Eros Sutras and all of the material that we focus on the Eros platform. Eli, for those of you who are just tuning in for the first time, Eli was a longtime meditator for most of his life and then found Orgasmic Meditation quite a few years ago now at this point, and has incorporated that into his, a set of regular practices. And without further ado, I will hand it over to Eli, and here we go.
Thanks, Lisha. Good to see everybody. Hi. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about hearing. And what might hearing have to do with orgasmic meditation and Eros and all of these things, you might wonder. And to answer that question, I'm going to refer to two things. I'm going to refer to a sutra, one of the Eros sutras that Nicole Daedone wrote. And I'm also going to sort of invoke some ideas from the orgasmic meditation practice. Maybe we'll do that in reverse order. We'll start with the practice. So I'm not going to be able to, this is one of these, I've discovered a new rhetorical strategy or tactic, which is that I say up front, I'm not going to be able to describe this perfectly. So no one's expecting me to be able to, you guys are going to do the work wherever I screw it up. So, okay. So I'm not going to be able to describe this perfectly, but we'll see what happens. So in the practice, you are combining the most sensitive part of the body, so clitoris, highest number of nerve endings of any spot in the body. We're combining that with the most dextrous part of the body, right? Fingertip, specifically index fingertip. There's more articulation, muscle control, and sort of ability to fine adjust in that particular muscle group than anywhere else on the body. So you have this amazing potential for very minute nervous system connection between the two what would you call it? Owners? Do you own your body? I guess you do. Whatever the two folks respond, with either end of those nervous systems, right? You can create a pretty profound ability to connect. But comes to be a problem, which is if one or both people have some kind of numbness or blockages inside their nervous system, which prevent them from feeling the full range of sensation, which, is kind of all of us to some degree at one time or another, in various ways. Like part of the practice, I think, is like, putting some weight on the sensitivity side of the scale where the rest of the world kind of wants to drown out sensitivity. We like to say we live in a very heavy pressure world. In terms of what's available for consumption, our flavors tend to be very intense, very salty, very sweet, extremely coarse sensation, not a lot of subtlety because people want to, just get that big, strong taste and kind of just check out on that. And you can eat a ton of it if you're not really tasting it. That's the other thing, right? And so these are, we have sort of a world that strategizes, or I guess fits lock and key with our propensity to want to feel less because it's more comfortable, at least, in the short term. So on some level, hearing your ears is also its nerves, right? There's little nerves and little hair cells and folliculi and all those little things that are in there. And they're just it's another extension of your nervous system. And so they're able to pick up disturbances in the air and to transmit that and to turn it into something that you can feel, or in this case, hear, right? So we're kind of, no matter what you're doing in terms of perception, you're kind of working with the nervous system no matter what. So in the same way that your ear, if you've been to a lot of loud rock concerts and over time and you've stood right next to the speaker at, Judas Priest or whatever, you know, it's going to have affected your hearing. And there's going to be higher frequencies that we won't be able to hear. That's just a fact. And the same is true of being able to hear, I would say, at a conceptual and perceptual level. Those, I guess, are our two levels. And I can tell you that for me, when I'm really deeply focused or fixated on a specific idea or goal or a particular thought that is a comfortable thought for me, my ability to hear other competing ideas that might be telling me something different about the same thing goes down. Anybody recognize that tendency in themselves as well? You're really attached to one idea, right? And so perceptually, something similar happens, right? When I would call this letting your attention get heavy, right? When your consciousness gets really heavy on an idea, I need to have it this way, like, you know, uh, oh, I need to have, I really want, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a good example for this. I really want sushi. And so I spend the next hour and a half driving around trying to find a sushi place, but I'm really hungry and I only get hungry. And then by the time I actually find a sushi place, I'm so hungry and it's so expensive that I end up getting a bad deal, but I get the sushi and like if I had just actually gone to Korean, and I know you want what you want when you want it. It's a bad example, but remember, you're doing the work, not me. Okay. So hopefully that makes some semblance of sense. So the same thing is true of stroking a clitoris, where if that clitoris is used to getting, kind of jackhammered by a vibrator, or if it's not been, if the nerves are for whatever reason, haven't been stroked or haven't been touched or aren't, extended, there's gonna be a while of resensitization. That's just how it tends to go. And again, I think the same is true of being able to hear at the world around us, not just from a perceptual level in terms of like I can actually physically hear a sound, but at a I don't know the word to call it, but here I'm going to read you guys a little bit of this sutra. Maybe this will help make a little bit of sense. So this is talks about it in terms of this is Eros Sutras Volume 1 in terms of the emergence of the intuitive mind. I'm not going to read the whole thing, just a little bit. It can seem otherworldly or extraordinary to communicate in silence with, quote, less conscious living things, or even with objects perceived as inanimate. And yet, what seems supernatural is in reality a return to the natural, the result of tuning into a specific carrier wave that exists in all things. It can be overwhelming to realize our entire lives are a conversation, and everyone and everything is in communication. In fact, it is a strange, quote, turning on our consciousness that opens the mind to hearing these communications. To open the inner ear in this way can feel like we're receiving a barrage of information, and it's a particularly challenging part of the path when the onslaught is unrelenting. There is suddenly no tuning the world out. As we awaken, we realize everything around us has been awake all along. We realize our loneliness and isolation is a result of blocking out the abundance of love and attention happening below the surface. We may be humbled to realize the ignored and dismissed have always been there, waiting for our ability to perceive them. So, I was thinking about this idea, and my mind tends to want to find the rule. I want to find here's how it works, and then here's the principle and kind of relay it. But I don't think that this one really has that kind of down pat rule. And maybe it does, but I'm gonna tell you guys two stories that had me really interested in this subject because I could not, I don't have any other explanation for how these two things were able to happen. So I'm going to tell you guys a couple of stories about something which happened in my ability to hear, my hearing. And admittedly, both of these were, both of these stories describe experiences that by everything that I just said, I shouldn't have been able to have on some level. They were so outside of what I thought, what it sounds like I was able to hear at the time. So anyway, I'll tell you a story and you'll see what I mean. So I'm gonna take you back to mid 2014. We'll go in chronological order. Mid 2014. I was in New York and doing my one taste thing, doing the classes, doing the teaching. Everything was great. And was in a relationship, and the relationship was stuck in a bit of a rut. And I probably wouldn't have done anything about it per se, because we were really kind of intractably sort of locked together in a you know not so healthy kind of um, codependent kind of thing. And it just was like, it was sort of a drag. It was like a lot of my energy went towards, are you okay? Am I okay? Are we okay? That kind of conversation. And at one point, an opening came up to come to San Francisco and do the same job I was doing in New York. And someone suggested, hey, have you ever thought about going back to San Francisco? Things aren't going very well in New York. And I was like, that's actually true. And it kind of cascaded in my mind. And I was like, I think it's time for this relationship needs, at the very least, a break, but maybe an end. So packed up my stuff, went to San Francisco. We said our goodbyes. And I thought, I'm really skipping town here. I'm starting new. She's the one, she was kind of she came into the work after I did. And, I was sort of the, you know, big strong man in the relationship to some degree. And, so I was like, okay, she'll be fine. I moved out and I was like, oh, she'll be all right. She'll be all right. Don't worry about her. She'll be okay. But thinking she was going to have the harder time with everything. So within about 2 weeks of being in San Francisco, she tells me, oh, and by the way, she goes, we're talking and she goes, by the way, I'm dating this dude. She mentions this guy. And literally felt like someone took a sledgehammer to like the window of my nervous system. And suddenly I just felt like pain from every part of my body. I was suddenly just in so much pain. And it was, I guess, part jealousy, part possessiveness, part just something had been severed in that moment. And I was just feeling it. And this went on and I was like, wow, I didn't realize, first of all, the realization that actually I was not, I was not the one doing better in the relationship, as it turns out, as demonstrated, though you're going to leave me, well, watch this. So I sort of, my feet hit the ground at that point for real. And I was like, oh, okay. So, what this relationship was really feeding me is starting to really kind of come to light now that it's gone. So that was rough. And it went on like that for about a month and a half. Sleep was bad, mood was bad. Everything just felt like it had a black cloud over it all the time. And I was like smoking clove cigarettes, it was a rough time. And I remember at one point, probably about 2 months in, she and I kind of kept talking here and there. I was sitting in front of, I was texting with her. And part of me just knew this has to end. I don't know what needs to shift, but I'm done feeling this way. I'm done feeling this way. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm done. And if you've ever been to the San Francisco One Taste Center at the time, it had these big, beautiful windows that were overlooking Market Street, about a 3 foot high little wall, and then these big, windows that went about 3 feet to the ceiling that overlooked Market, like a row, I don't know, of like 20 of these windows, beautiful light in the room and everything. The room was empty, big multi-purpose room. with all these Om supplies. So zafus and blankets and pillows stacked against the wall. And so I kind of just wandered out of the room that I was in talking to her and went out, grabbed a meditation cushion, grabbed a blanket, plopped him down, started meditating, like I don't know what else to do. I'm just going to meditate. Facing this wall, the wall goes up to about right here, and then the windows are above me facing out to the street. So basically, if the wall and the windows were gone, I'd be looking right at Market Street, and we're on the second floor. And I'm sitting there meditating, and suddenly I realize this is not helping at all because I actually need prayer is what I need. I don't need meditation. This is the wrong direction, you know. And so I push the zafu out of the way and I just get on my hands and knees and I'm just like, God, please, please take this from me. Like, take it. I'm done. Just take this off of my heart. I'm desperate. And suddenly from nowhere, literally from nowhere, an actual voice, not a pretend voice, an actual voice says, here, I'll tell you what it said. It said, because I can look at a picture of what it said and I'll explain how that's possible in a moment. It said, I will send you messages. All you have to do, your only job is to listen and enjoy. And I was sitting there and a woman's voice said this. And it said it in such a innocent kind of tone. And in that moment, hand to God, I felt whatever was on my heart, it just blew off like a fog, like a lock, like a clunk, and it was just gone. And my eyes cleared and my head cleared. And suddenly I just felt myself again. And I felt happy. I felt like ecstatically happy. First time in months. But I was so confused about what had just happened. And I stood up and I looked out the window, and there was a woman and her person standing in front of this wall. And on the wall beneath me was a mural that said that. And so this woman had walked by at that exact moment, looked to the building, and read the mural out loud off the side of the building in a voice loud enough that I could hear it through the window on the second floor. And it did it. It did it 100%. And I texted my ex and I was like, I love you and I'm done. And I can't talk to you for a few months, but I just got it. I'm really, really done because we've been kind of circling the drain. And I sat there just like, I don't know why, like, how does that happen? How does that happen? And then the question I thought is, but is that happening all the time in some way? Are those frequencies flying around? Is the inanimate speaking to me in its language through my consciousness in ways that will benefit me at all times? And only sometimes am I so desperate that I finally open to be willing to hear it? Is that what it takes? Does Eros have to, get me so far down that I'm so out of my own sense of self-sufficiency and my thoughts and my beliefs and my knowing and all that, stuff is to get the heavy pressure that is my mind out of the way enough that something can come in and actually give me a hand. And it was a moment of like, wow, okay, I don't know. I don't know. Okay, so that's story number one. Story number two, a couple years later, maybe 2016, going to the airport with my friend, another One Taste teacher. We're going to London to teach the One Taste Men's program. Yia, who is on this call right now, is driving us in a car to the airport. And we arrive, and I don't know, this is maybe my second time teaching in London. I can't remember, maybe third. And for whatever reason, I felt just a little anxious about this class. I don't know why, but I usually did not feel that way. And we get to the curb at SFO and we open the door, we get in the bags out. We get about 5 feet out the door, me and this other guy. And Yia rolls the window down of the car she's in and she yells and she says to the other guy, wait, wait, wait. It turns out you're not going to go. And so he and I look at each other And we both walk back to the car and she explains, oh no, we actually need him to stay here for some other stuff. So I'm going alone. And I'm like, okay, I'm like, I've always gone alone, whatever, it's fine. But something kind of was irking me. And so I go through security and it was just, I don't know, I could not tell you what it was. But like food wasn't sitting right, nothing, my nervous system was just kind of tweaky. So I get on the plane. It's like that extra long wait to get on the plane for, international flights. I get on the flight, I get on the plane and I'm sitting on the plane and I just can't get comfortable. I can't quite get comfortable. And I had, I had a plan, which was I was gonna watch this particular movie on my laptop, but then I realized, I forgot to download the movie, so I can't watch the damn movie. Ugh, bummer. And the movie actually is an important part of the story. The movie was, I believe, a Cameron Crowe film entitled Singles about like the rock grunge scene in New York or in Seattle in the 90s. And I did not really care that much about the movie, but the reason I liked it and wanted to watch it was because I'd been listening to the soundtrack for like the last 20 years. The single soundtrack is a collection of like, Northwestern 90s grunge acts, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, stuff that I like. And there's this one song that was done just for this soundtrack. Chris Cornell is the former singer of Soundgarden, plays a beautiful song that I highly encourage everyone to listen to called Seasons. And it's just him and a 12-string acoustic guitar. And it is one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard in my life. And I only listen to that song really. And so I want it on that soundtrack. And so I wanted to hear where does it show up in the movie? So I was just going to watch the movie and kill time. I don't have the damn movie. So I'm on the plane, taxi, we take off, sitting there, and I just start to feel like a little bit nauseated. And like my nerves are starting to get to me. And this does not happen to me, guys. I promise you. This is not a situation where I feel this way. And I just start thinking, I'm like, okay, well, again, pray. So I start praying, please help. I don't know what I need, but, can I have some help, please? Please help. Something, just trying to find the right words. Kind of helps, but not really, you know. And we get in the air. We're in the air for like an hour and a half, and this is what's going on. And I say, okay, well, I might as well watch another movie. Maybe I can just get my attention off of, this, whatever I'm perceiving to be a problem. Maybe I can just shift and watch some other movie that's gonna, rock my world. So I look through the movie catalog on the plane and they have the new Superman movie. Oh, perfect. Love Superman. Big strong guys beating up other people and for justice. Okay, let's do it. So I throw the movie on. So far it's good. It's what's his name? The big, really the first big new Superman. And it's good. Henry Cavill and he's great in it. And, I'm kind of like soaking up the Superman vibes and the courage. Oh, the courage. And, it's good. It's going well. And there's a scene about halfway through the movie where it's a typical Superman trope where he's at a truck stop and some jerky trucker picks on him and he could like literally tear the man apart limb from limb and he just bites his tongue and he leaves, while the guy's dumping eggs and coffee on him and everything and they're laughing and it's like, dude, you would be dead if this guy actually, unleashed on you. And, it shows, Superman kind of has to leave town at this point, and so he leaves town and a montage begins in the movie. And it shows him like traveling on the road and, he's on a motorcycle and then he's in the back of a hay truck, and all these kind of things in the montage. And crazy enough, I hear the beginning of the song that I like. And the season song. And I'm like, oh, I must have left my iPod going or something. And I look at my iPod, it's not on. This is the only other movie in existence where they grabbed this song from the single soundtrack and it is on the Superman soundtrack. And in that moment, all of my anxiety disappeared. And I felt this burst of love and courage that I was deeply taken care of and supported by something much bigger than myself, that my small mind could no longer exist in the way that it had been so dominant, that there was an incontrovertible knowing that overtook me. Deep, deep knowing. I'm so loved and supported. I'm fine. I'm great. Everything's fine. Vanished that little gremlin right out of my system. Breathing deep, sleeping well, got off the plane, feeling awesome, had a great class, came back. How does that happen? Is that happening all the time? Are the things that would be there to assist us and give us a little wink from from ourselves reflected in everything? And this has been puzzling me. I don't know. I don't have the answer to this, but I read that sutra, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, okay, like how much of this wouldn't it be more convenient? Because it sounds cooler to be like, you guys, these two special moments happened a couple of years apart that like really rocked my world. But is that really? Or is it that they're really there all the time? And the much more difficult work is getting out of my heavy pressure, me, self reality to be able to let that kind of thing permeate and be supported all the time. And I don't want to, beat a, you know, pious gratitude, kind of wearing white, that frequency of spirituality or whatever. It's not what I'm here to do. But like I was changed forever by both of those experiences, and I continue to sit. They say, when you experience the divine in some way, you will sit at the window waiting for another glimpse for the rest of time. And I will sit at that window waiting for that glimpse again. But it kind of has me think, you know, kind of has me think. Maybe it has you think. That's my story.
It's a pretty great story, Eli. Thank you
Thanks.
so much. Now, I got tingles at one point when you were sharing about the that divine synchronicity.
How the hell is that
Uh,
possible? I don't know.
these things happen. Um, we do have one question, and then anyone on here, if you want to raise your hands, if you have a question, we have a few minutes for questions, and then we can transition to reflections. But we got a question straight away from Instagram. They were curious to hear more about orgasmic meditation. The question is, what is orgasmic meditation exactly? What's the difference between just regular meditation?
It's a great question. We didn't answer that at all.
Now's your chance.
Yeah. So orgasmic meditation is very similar to sitting meditation. But with a couple very key differences. So they're similar in the sense that both, because they're both meditations, they're both attention training practices. And in typical, I don't know what typical is anymore, but in what you might call typical sitting meditation, you're placing your attention on the breath, on the sensation of the breath, on maybe a candle or a mantra in some forms of meditation. And in orgasmic meditation, we are shifting the focus of the meditation, the focal point, to the spot, the point of connection between a finger, so it can be anyone's finger, a man or a woman's finger, and a woman's clitoris. Okay, a clitoris, literally a clitoris. And so this is the kind of connection we're talking about. It's a very simple, very light stroke. And there's a whole procedure which goes along with that. It takes about 22 minutes to do it from start to end. And there's a whole process that you learn. And it involves asking, it involves setting up a particular space to do the practice, which has, you can do with your household items like pillows and things like that. Pillows, blanket, if you have a meditation cushion, that's helpful. Um, and basically there's a format that it takes place in. And the idea is that you're learning how to uh, tune your nervous system and to learn how to modulate arousal in your body. So usually when people feel sensation, arousal in the body, some kind of heat or warmth or more, sort of an increase in energy or, perception of sort of just feeling more in your body, people react and respond in different ways. Some people shy away from that kind of feeling. Some people try to get more. Some people kind of dissociate and check out a little bit. And so, you know, different people have different responses. And the practice is a way that, in the same way that sitting meditation, you can kind of notice what happens with your mind, right? Aversions on one side, um, grasping, greed on the other side, right? And then hovering or some kind of uh, spaciness also, right? These are sort of the ways that we tend to confront. And in orgasmic meditation, you're getting a very manageable amount of arousal, um, much more manageable than something like psychedelics or flow sports, like cliff jumping or something. You're getting a certain degree of arousal and you're learning how to drive your attention through that arousal and using that arousal to power your attention at the same time. And so the purpose of this is that we learn how to stay conscious in while we're feeling things that that we have various habits around our reactivity when we do feel them. So that's sort of your small version. And then if you really want to know more, Alicia and I are teaching a class tomorrow on the Eros platform. So if you go to erosplatform.com, there's a free account you can get. And this is the last time this class is actually free. It's going to be part of the membership coming up. So you can go right on the website, and in the very top of that website, there's a little banner about learning orgasmic meditation and invites you to enroll. And so the class tomorrow will run from about 1 p.m. Pacific 1 p.m. Eastern till about 5 or 6 Eastern. And it's totally free. We invite you to come.
Wonderful. Any other questions? If you have a question, you'd like to raise your hand, either in the Zoom or visually. Any questions for Eli, longtime teacher and practitioner of orgasmic meditation? If you have a question, please do ask it. And if not, we can transition over to reflections. Oh, let's see. Wait, Jack.
Hey, Jack.
Excellent.
My question was just that you mentioned that both times in these experiences you had, you prayed.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, who were you praying to?
Not me.
Well, I mean, since you're a longtime meditator,
Yeah.
and also, I know you guys have been studying Tibetan Buddhism, so that you don't really have an entity that you pray to.
Well, I'm
to the universe or something like that.
I'm equal opportunity as far as deities go. And so in a moment of prayer, I think at the time I just was, I think God generally, just God, something bigger, whatever it was me wasn't cutting it. So I needed to pick something bigger.
Right. And then as you were relating these experiences, it seemed to me you were really talking about you're absorbed in your tumescent mind. You're completely, caught up in your own thinking about what's going on and stuff. And then, when you finally let go of that, then you can open to what's going on kind of thing around you. But you're talking more about this serendipitous aspects of somebody walking by on the street and reading a sign out loud and all the, it just, that occurrence has some deep meaning that just releases you, you know.
I think it's both.
Yeah. And because in Tibetan Buddhism, there in the Lama Chopa, they talk about that you want to reach a point where everything that arises in your awareness is your yidam.
Mm-hmm.
Or so that like everything in nature is speaking to you and teaching you in some aspect. I thought that was kind of coming through in your stories.
That's beautiful. I'm going to check that out. But I think that's accurate. That's, I think, exactly what the sutra is pointing to as well.
Nice. Nice.
Jack,
Thank you, Jack.
thanks for sharing. I know you've been practicing for a really long time. It's great to hear you share a bit about that. That's wonderful.
Russell, you have a question for Eli.
This is sort of like switching places. I'll use your first example, second floor, voice out on the street, calling loud enough to be heard through the wood and through the glass. Have you ever been in that situation where you don't know why, but you're bringing something out for someone to hear, but you don't know who?
I don't even know. I've had people come up to me and when I have no idea, like, look, there's some ideas that are so needing to be heard, and there's moments when I can feel them penetrating the minds of, like, if I'm teaching a class, I can be like,
Yeah,
okay,
exactly. Yeah.
yes, for sure. I can certainly perceive that. Ah, this one's got some purchase.
Yeah.
You can feel the teeth, locking into it for sure. That's something that's perceptible.
Thanks.
Yeah, great.
Anyone else? Any other questions for Eli today?
Let's do
Any?
reflections.
Yeah, let's do it. So let's get a few reflections. Patrice, go ahead.
Hi, Eli. Can you hear me? Okay. Anyway, hi.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, good. I didn't hear you. Now I do. Hi. Yes, thank you for the stories. It's like I've been becoming more appreciative of the stories we can tell each other and the value of the experiences that we've had that we can make into a narrative to share, verbally with other human beings. And I also think of the sharing, the mycelium network, the ideas, the thoughts that come to me from who knows where, really. I think it's mine because it came here, but it certainly could have come from the divine or the collective unconscious or someplace that wants my words to speak it. And so thank you for giving us examples, which I am practicing the belief that let's see, that this is happening all the time, that our interconnection is constant, and that my awareness is something that I have some control of to open and turn to what is happening all the time, to be aware and absorb what's being offered. So thank you for demonstrating.
Thank you, Patrice.
Excellent. Who else has a reflection? Agneska, I thought maybe you had one. Let's see. Let's get two more reflections for Eli.
There is one more question from Instagram.
Where? Oh, I didn't see it. Sorry about that. Okay, here we go. Great, Eli. So question from Instagram. Is it only done for one woman on a clitoris? What about for the man? This is a woman asking that question.
Yes. Well, the crazy thing is that the practice has complementary benefits for the man. but the men aren't stroked. And if you want to know more about all that, we will discuss it tomorrow at the class. Come to the class.
Mhm. Great. Let's see. Matthias.
I just came at the tail end, so I look forward to catching the recording. But just one of the things that arose was from my mentor, this idea that the listening creates the speaking. And so if in that field we're whatever's arising in that teaching space is will have us kind of draw through whatever that juice is.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matthias. And yeah, take us out.
Yeah, sorry, I can't raise my hand because I'm also a host. So I am currently listening to this audiobook called In Love with the World by the Rinpoche who like ran away and had his like year-long, retreat. I don't know if you know that guy, but when I was listening to the book, there's this way where I thought that I was listening to his memoir, like he's telling me stories and stuff, and all of a sudden he like embeds in these like really deep Buddhist teachings in there, and then you're like, damn. But it's that place where like his teaching is so woven into his stories that it actually takes you through the visceral experience of like meditation, because like I don't want to just read a meditation book or something. And so when you were telling your stories, it has that same feeling of like, I'm getting to know Eli. And then you would weave in these sutras, like you will weave in these teachings where you're getting the deep transmission of the teaching through the story. And it just like plants itself in there through your stories that it's like so clear, and it leaves such a good imprint where it's just like, it's like a lasting imprint that carves a way for me to remember it next time of like, oh, like this is what this thing feels like. And so as I'm listening to you weave in your personal stories with like the teachings, it has that same feeling, almost like that bait and switch, and you're getting both at the same time, and it's like very nourishing.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Yia. Well, we're going to close the talk for today. Thank you all for joining us as always. And so, yeah, as Eli mentioned, we have an introduction to Om class tomorrow. It's an online class. It's on the platform. It's free and starts at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. Please, if you would like a refresher, if you're learning about the practice for the first time, please do join us. Links will be posted wherever you're looking from. And thanks so much. Tune in tomorrow, same time, same channel.